Today we are going to be installing the Marks M99 in Duranautic or 10B finish. This is a very nice looking exit device, and we're actually going to be installing this on a gate. So I wanted to capture this to make sure that we could see how this installation could be possible on an exterior gate. The first thing we start off with is measuring and centering the exit device itself. For aesthetics, we want it to be in the center of the solid portion of this gate. And for ADA requirements, we need to make sure that we mount all door hardware between 36 and 48 inches from the ground up. Now I'm drilling the latch that is going to go into the frame side of the opening. And I like to use this step bit process here where it's not actually a step bit, but I start off with a very small drill bit, the smallest drill bit I can find, and then step it up one or two sizes. The other thing about this that makes it unique is this is a very heavy duty setup. That steel that we're drilling through is like 3/8 of an inch thick, so it is extremely thick and heavy duty, and that's also why I chose not to tap this out to 1/4x20. I knew we would start breaking taps if we did that. So this strike is going to be mounted on this thick piece of steel, and we're actually going to use tapping screws to go ahead and actually mount that in place. Normally you would like to use the provided screws due to the UL rated listing that the exit device has. You want to make sure you try and use all of the existing mounting hardware. However, that just simply wasn't an option for this particular case. We would have broke tap after tap in that. Here, we're noticing the dead latch, and this is one of the most important parts of the installation. There's that 1/4x20 drill tap that I was talking about. We will use that for the rest of the installation so you can actually see how it works, and I'll cover that in detail. But that 1/4x20 drill tap is a very useful tool. It just doesn't work on thick steel very well. So the plate that we were actually mounting into is quite a bit thinner, and that's why we were able to utilize that. Here again, I'm showing the dead latch. I'm also showing that we did use 2 self-tapping screws to hold the exit device in place, but we do come back, and right now I'm actually drilling out, and then I'm going to be drill and tapping the 1/4x20 holes to use the existing screws that come with the exit device, so we can ensure that we use the existing screw pack that comes with the device, which is highly recommended. Now I'm going to be drilling and tapping all of those holes. The 4 mounting holes are going to be the most important, and here we see that device. I've found that using the extension also does help absorb impact so that it doesn't break quite as easily. There are the 2 holes on top and then the 2 holes on the bottom. And here I can show and demonstrate how that tool works. Very efficient and a very great tool to have in your toolbox. However, do be aware that they can break, and that is one of the main problems that they have. So I turned my setting on my impact driver way down to reduce the torque so that it doesn't break the bit quite as often. Here I'm drawing a line between the top and bottom and the 4 mounting screws that we just added, and that will give me a center location so that we can use this. Okay, so I wanted to take just a second and talk a little bit more about how to line up your Mortise rim cylinder that would go in like a pole trim or whatever kind of exit trim that you have, and how that actually lines up with this. Now, in the video, you'll see like this is a little bit different design right here. This one has 2 different options, and they're kind of offset. The other one, sometimes they're usually here in the center, but this is the only one that I have to give a demonstration on. When you're actually drilling this hole, you'll see that I'll use a hole saw to drill that hole. And what I'm actually doing is I wanted to draw attention to this because it seems to have confused some people, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. But when you're drawing your center line for where this needs to be here, where this hex shape piece is right here, okay, this has to be on tailpiece center, okay, which if you look at it, and I'll get a little bit better view and a little bit better angle here. If you look at it, it is not on cylinder center. Okay, so really need to pay attention to that, and you're on tailpiece center, not cylinder center. So cylinder center would be somewheres up here. Like if we were to try and draw this out, it would be right here. But as you can see, the tailpiece is what actually connects into this portion here, and that is obviously not in the center of the lock, but that is also what operates the lock. When this goes in here, this sits in here, and then that's what depresses and brings the latch in. Okay, so in order to do that, when I'm taking the hole saw, I'm taking into account that offset, and that offset is usually just below the drill bit. So it's if you were to center this up here, okay, if that was lock center, okay, you can see where drill bit center is. So when I have my center mark, when I draw my X, when I draw all my lines and my center mark, I actually take the drill bit, and if this was center here, what I do is put it something like this. That would be about a drill bit above the center line. And what that'll do is that moves this, because it's a 1/4 inch drill bit, it's going to move your center line up 1/8 of an inch if you're centered, and then another 1/8 of an inch, because this would be dead center here. Okay, so if I were to take this, that would be dead center. So what we do is we move it up here like this. So now I've got 1/8 of an inch above this and another 1/8 of an inch here. So you're about a little more than a 1/4 of an inch above the actual center line, and that coincides with the center line of the cylinder, and then the center line of the cylinder is what actually brings the tailpiece right where it needs to be here, so that it's perfectly in line with the portion here that it needs to go into, so that it actually operates the cylinder or the exit device itself. So whether your center line is here, the bottom line is, and the most basic line is that you are on tailpiece center line, not cylinder center line. So keep that in mind when you're doing your installation, and it'll make it a whole lot easier and a whole lot better. What will happen if you drill for center line is that then you're going to have to move your entire mounting down about a 1/4 of an inch or so to make up for that center line here. So you want to make sure that everything goes exactly the way you want it to go, so that everything lines up perfectly for you in the final install. If you get your exit device installed and you're not on center line, it's going to hang up and it's going to be sticky, and it's going to put a bind here, because this is going to be going through the door, and it's going to be trying to push it down and force it down, and it's going to create a bind here, and it's not going to work very smoothly. That's how you're going to know whether you got your hole correct or not. So continue to check out the video, and just know that we're drilling here, tailpiece center line, not cylinder center line. Hole saw to drill the hole that will go all the way through the gate and allow us to mount the Mortise rim cylinder on the outside. There I'm showing how we got that measurement. You could use the template if you wanted to, but I have just got in the habit of using this method, and it seems to work very well, so that's what we're doing. Now we've got the drill and the hole saw all put together, and I'll show you how the saw starts drilling into the gate. Once you have the pilot bit in and then the external portion, you just simply drill right through to the other side for a nice clean hole. Here you can see that hole saw doing its work. These Milwaukee hole saws seem to do. Here's the plug that will come out of the gate. And then we're going to be using a Mortise rim cylinder. That's also the other part number for the Marks pull device on the outside. It gives people a handle to pull on. Here I'm showing the Mortise rim cylinder mounting screws. These had to be cut down. There's several different ways to cut those. I like just cutting them off with the angle grinder like this. And there's actually segments and sections that are not threaded on that bolt to give you a clear line so you know exactly where to cut. Here's that pull mount mounted on the outside, and what that mortise rim cylinder looks like mounted from the external point of view. Here we're mounting the back plate. So these are the screws that actually hold that rim cylinder in place. And then I leave the whole tail piece installed as it is from the factory, and then take a measurement, and it's a lot easier to cut that once it's installed. You don't have to have two hands to go ahead and cut it. Here I'm showing the angle grinder, how we cut that tail piece down to size so that it can be trimmed so that it doesn't protrude too far into the Marks M99 exit device. Now we're going to test fit and make sure that it's actually engaging. We're going to put the exit device back onto the gate. It looks like we're drilling and tapping the two holes for the self-tapping screws to hold that pull trim plate into place as well. Have a nice, beautiful day here in Aspen, Colorado, so hopefully you're enjoying that. And now we're just trying to make final adjustments and move that plate up just a little bit, and then remount the exit device on top of it. Getting the tail piece to actually go into the exit device can be challenging in some cases. Now we're mounting the mounting screws for the exit device itself. I would like to address some security issues. This is what was spec'd for this job, so I notified them that an exit device with an open gate like this might not be the best and most secure option. However, that is what the fire department had requested or required for this particular application. Now, again, we're tapping and drilling, or rather drilling and tapping the two holes for the back mounting plate. And actually right there, I did have one of those taps break. So that's why I keep mentioning that, is because it does happen. It doesn't happen that often, but it can happen. And if it does, you need to know how to fix it. So we were able to just tap that with a drill bit, and it was able to punch right through and basically collapse it so that it fell inside the gate. However, they do come in handy and they are very convenient. They do just break from time to time. Now we've put the end cap on the device as well, so that has been taken care of. Here are the mounting screws. These are the factory mounting screws, the 1/4x20 mounting screws that come with the M99 exit device. And here is that back piece that gets mounted on the other end of the exit device. So here are those screws mounted on the head of the device, two on each side, and then the two screws that mount to this butt portion of the exit device. Here is the strike plate that gets mounted on the side of the frame, and then you'll notice that you have to have a flat screw that doesn't stick up at all in that middle portion so that it doesn't get affected by the exit device latch. Here is the exit pull trim, and then again, that dead latch is engaged. Alrighty, so it can come up, unlock, okay, shuts, locks, opens, does everything it's supposed to do. Shut, engages the dead latch here, locks, releases, and then if you roll that down, it does dog the exit device down. Marks M99 is a fantastic exit device, and I highly recommend them. It is my go-to substitute. It fits on a Von Duprin 99 footprint, so the holes will drill and match up the same along with the tailpiece. Everything works extremely well, and this is an awesome product by Marks USA.